The Midnight Walk is one of those games that we saw trailers for, have been seeing trailers for the last year, and captures you in its style alone. So after seeing those initial trailers, I didn't even really care if there was going to be substance to the game. I just wanted to jump in and see if the trailers were reality, and they sure are. The developers at Moonhood have created an oddly charming, horror-themed adventure with light puzzling. So there is some substance, but it's light. I really think this game is going to be talked about at the end of the year in award season for its presentation. There's going to be art and design nominations out the wazoo. To quote what the devs have done here, the game was created with more than 700 clay models that was 3D scanned into the game, and then stop motion animation was used to animate the character movement. So everything feels really real. You can see the human imperfections in the craft of this, and it gives everything so much character. It's outside of its presentation, the game is about traveling around with this character called Pot Boy, who eats coal. So I called him
like a little tree.
Gina Reinhardt.
Of course.
Good. Which is so unfair to the delight that is Gina Reinhardt. Sorry, the delight that is Pot Boy. Because this thing is so sweet in its character design, in the way that it animates. The whole world is animated in a beautiful way, and this thing stands out in amongst all of it. And the game, it does crack along at a pretty decent pace. You move between areas really quickly. You kind of learn new skills. You meet different characters. And the world itself is kind of told to you in the level design as opposed to exposition. You see large boots from a human left behind. You're like, oh, I'm a tiny character in a world that humanity is no longer a part of. So there's kind of like, I haven't finished the game. It is not a long game. I think it's 5 hours, which comes to one of the problems with the game. I keep having bugs with mission progression, and because it's a very linear story, I have been playing the 15-minute chunk a few times and getting stuck on a point. So I might need to just completely restart the game. Again, it's only like a 5-hour game, so it's not a huge issue. But because this game is really light on gameplay, and there's not any real mental gymnastics in solving the puzzles, it's just about going through the motions of the puzzles. It's not an enjoyable thing to replay, but every new piece of information that I find about this game is a delight. One of the problems that I have with the game when it's working is that it's a little bit tonally jarring. It tries to be comedic, and it's a cozy, according to the developers, a cozy horror game. And there is a real charm to it all, which I think is what the cozy is, and there's cuteness in the ugliness, and there's all of that, which is really beautiful and really well done. But then there's sometimes dialogue humor that just isn't particularly funny or well executed, and to take you out of tension and horror for a gag that falls flat makes it fall really flat. So there's these moments where you're like, I could have just been I was really engaged in this feeling of running away from a big monster, and then some character says something that's half funny, and you're like, but
now I'm not laughing or scared.
Now I'm not laughing and I'm not shitting myself. I need to say this line that I wrote because it's so stupid. But that really takes the wind out of the sails. But most of the time, the sails are billowing with the winds of delight.
So,
that's delightful.
Do you know what's wild is that I mentioned earlier today there's an IGN review. There's an IGN review for this currently, and the guy who reviewed the guy who reviewed it on IGN, if you watch it, it's all written like he's written his first year 11 English essay that's all kind of in the style of how dark and poetic this game is. So the whole review on IGN is really is written in like
Trying to be
verbose.
prose.
it's overly verbose and super
the-
meaningful
yeah.
and super meaningful. And that's right, sorry. But it's like, and so then you're like, it's with the bellowing winds. I'm like, maybe that's what this game inspires in people.
I think
I wrote art, and the IGN guy wrote crap.
well I've noticed with a lot of like reviews nowadays, they almost seem themed around the games that they're
think that's
reviewing,
kinda what they
which
went
I
for,
find
yeah.
really
Interesting.
interesting. As like a way of concocting prose.
Yeah,
Winds of Delight is also what Peter calls his fast in the office, though.
Yeah.
That is true, actually.
that's why
This
it's
is
funny.
true.
is the like.
The winds of delight are open to interpretation.
Sure.
Is the narrative purposely ambiguous? Like at the start, you're just like, "What are you?" and "What is this place?" Or do they?
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Right.
yeah. Tim Burton core is great.
I was going to
way
say
to
it
frame
reminds me
I was
so
gonna-
of Tim Burton, like Frankenweenie and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In its visual style, but also in its tone of being a little bit esoteric, a little bit intentionally obtuse, and you just finding the charm in all of that. And it works because Pop Boy is great. The way that character engages with you is really sweet. It's always running back to you and then leading you on your path. This is an interesting mechanic of solving puzzles by listening. So you close your eyes and your hearing is improved.
Yeah, right.
So there's like things hidden in drawers that are giving off a signal. You can't locate them. You could just walk up to it and find it, but you can locate them by closing your eyes, and it makes a louder sound, so you can travel towards it. Again, that's as deep a puzzle mechanic as I've encountered in the game.
Gotcha.
And then it's hiding from monsters in an Amnesia, Dark Descent style, hide in the cupboards, wait till it passes, and then the area is clear kind of thing.
Is your goal just follow Pop Boy, or is there like an element of escape this world or explore this dream, or is it like again?
No, it's just follow Pop Boy.
Yeah. Okay.
Which again makes it feel really linear, but that's sounding negative. It's
it's all it
beautiful
needs,
in how tight it is. It's like move, and it's showing you interesting things all the time. And like you can just, I feel like something is lost in just looking at gameplay as opposed to playing it.
Yeah.
In how gorgeous the game is. Like it is just stunning, and that doesn't get lost on you a couple of hours in, where you open a door to a new room and you're like, wow. This is gorgeous.
Well, I mean, like, I feel like we're at a point now with games where, like, to judge them purely based on gameplay alone, kind of like it loses a lot of merit, considering, like, I see this and this is very clearly like an interactive art piece purely based on the way that it's been created, what with the clay pieces being, lovingly crafted.
Yeah.
Like it sounds pretty bare bones in gameplay, but kind of based on the feeling it seems to be eliciting in you, I wouldn't really see that as a bad thing.
Yeah, no, totally.
Yeah.
It's like the directive from them, or the art style and the creation process trumps the element of how much fun does this have to be played moment to moment.
It is fun. It is fun because it's a hide horror game.
Yeah.
But there's not much more to it than that.
okay.
Yeah.
But that's fine because you're not sitting in moments for too long. It's just well paced. That's good. It's good game design.
It
the whole
almost seems
time.
like this kind of is achieved or seems to be achieving what Harold Halibut unfortunately kind of
Yeah, I
failed
never
at.
played Harold Halibut in the end, but
Yeah. A lot of people like visually quite a spectacle, but
Handmade
arguably
play, but
very
not-
dull.
yeah.
The other big thing, this is a VR game as well, and so I think
What?
Yeah, people have been raving about it as a VR game because it's got that same immersion to these really dreamlike spaces and stuff. But also, I think VR games afford themselves an element of, hey, this can just be a really beautiful experience
Yeah.
as
Yeah,
well. I'm not
totally.
to say one way was better than the other, but I feel like playing this in VR, you could be like, yeah, I'm just enjoying kind of being
Yeah.
caught up in this.
I wonder if in VR you can just close your eyes.
I was
and-
thinking that
surely,
too, because
That
it's
would
got
be
that
especially with
That would be
PSVR
awesome.
too.
yeah, but then you wouldn't be able to, because don't you then physically see what it's...
No.
No.
Oh,
You
it
are
actually-
you are
black.
just walking around listening. You can close your eyes at a PC because it doesn't
Sorry,
change.
I
it.
thought when it went dark and you closed your in-game eyes that you got like a
No.
pulse or something.
You,
Oh, right,
you just listen.
We
Oh,
got
right.
Sassless
Or it is,
in chat who's been playing the VR version.
There you go. Yeah, it totally does.
And you literally just close your eyes.
Yeah,
That's so cool.
That's
yeah,
really
walking
cool.
around these environments and getting up close to the detail would be.
Well, at first I thought you played as Pop Boy, and so kind of going to that VR experience. I wasn't too sure about it, but the fact that you're a separate person, kind of following and also guiding Potboy, I love that
works
as
well
a
in
VR
VR.
experience
That works
because
well.
you're really
Moss
just
and
with a
all those
little
other-
guy.
Moss and
That's
some of those other games work
delightful.
really well when you're the bigger camera and you have a little
Yeah.
thing to focus on. So.
And it's like Potboy loves you. You are a hero to Potboy.
Oh.
Potboy, like because you gave it its first goal, it just
so
like comes
too
running back to you all the time. It's like I went off ahead and I'm just like looking at detail on the map.
You
And
know
it's like,
what?
Hey,
And now I don't want Doom Guy. I want Potboy.
yeah, we could
I
put
want-
Potboy.
Get
but
out
that
of here,
actually
dude.
lights up and
Yeah.
you can like warm your hands over the Potboy.
Moonhood, could you give us a little
We'd like-
Potboy, please?
Surely we know people with. I was going to say
Pot.
clay. People
I'll
with a
figure it
furnace. Let's make
New
our own
art
Potboys.
project for me. Jesus.
Yeah, as a person who plays a lot of horror games, they are really all just walking sims. A lot of
Yeah.
you just
Oh,
walk,
yeah.
you hide, you walk,
Yeah.
you hide, you walk.
Yeah,
you
totally.
Hide.
Yeah.
I don't even know if that's scary by the time you see the creature. You're kind of like, I want to see
Yeah.
what's
Yeah,
all that
yeah.
thing
What's
about.
that? Just a second.
I guess that's the difference with like you said at the beginning, it's a horror themed game. It's not really a horror game.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
call it a cozy horror game.
Yeah.
And for me, it's not horrific, but there is the monsters that chase you are scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're designed to be scary, and it's exciting.
You did scream actually
Yeah.
during the stream. I
yeah, I
remember.
was hamming it up.
It's I feel like
Yeah,
it's a
yeah,
horror
yeah,
movie in the
that's
same
right.
way Coraline's a horror movie. Like horror
Yeah,
for kids.
yeah, totally,
you know?
yeah. It's like-
Unsettling and beautiful and
Yeah,
storybook, all
exactly.
that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool.